In the sprawling metropolis of Beijing, millions of people rely on public transportation every day. Buses crisscross the city from dawn until late at night, carrying workers, students, and tourists to their destinations. But there is one bus that does not appear on any official schedule. One route that does not exist on any map. The locals call it the midnight bus. It runs after the last regular service has ended. It picks up passengers who have nowhere else to go, and it takes them on a journey from which they never return. This is the story of Chen Ming, and the night he boarded the wrong bus. Chen Ming was a 25-year-old programmer working for a tech company in Beijing's Haidian district. He was not from Beijing originally. He had moved to the capital 3 years ago from a small town in Hunan province, chasing opportunities and dreams. On the night in question, Chen Ming had been visiting a friend in the Fragrant Hills area, in the far northwest of the city. They had spent the evening playing video games and drinking beer, and by the time Chen Ming checked his phone, it was already 11:30. "You should stay the night," his friend suggested. "No, I have work tomorrow. I'll catch the last bus." Chen Ming rushed to the bus station, but he was too late. The final bus of the night had already departed. The station was empty, the ticket booth dark. He checked his phone again. No signal. The battery was almost dead. He had no money for a taxi. He had spent his last cash on drinks. Chen Ming stood alone in the darkness, wondering what to do. And then he saw lights approaching through the fog. A bus was coming. Chen Ming felt a wave of relief. Perhaps there was a late service he did not know about. Perhaps he was lucky. The bus pulled up to the station with a squeal of old brakes. It was unlike any bus Chen Ming had seen in Beijing. The vehicle was ancient, a model from perhaps the 1970s or 80s. Its paint was faded and chipped. Its windows were grimy, almost opaque. The interior lights flickered erratically. The doors opened with a mechanical groan. Chen Ming hesitated. Something felt wrong. The bus seemed out of place, out of time. But what choice did he have? It was cold, dark, and he was alone. He climbed aboard. The driver sat behind the wheel, face hidden beneath a cap pulled low. He did not acknowledge Chen Ming's entrance. "Does this bus go to Huangquan?" Chen Ming asked. The driver was silent for a moment. Then, without turning around, he spoke. "Sit in the back. Do not speak to the other passengers. Do not look at them for too long. When you want to get off, ring the bell. But know this, once you ring the bell, you cannot take it back." Chen Ming did not understand, but the driver's tone made him uneasy. "Okay," he said. "Thank you." He walked down the aisle. The bus was not empty. 3 passengers already sat in the scattered seats. In the front row sat an old man wearing traditional Chinese robes, the kind no one had worn since the Qing dynasty. His head was bowed, his hands folded in his lap. In the middle of the bus sat a woman dressed entirely in white. She cradled something in her arms, wrapped in cloth. A baby, Chen Ming assumed, though it made no sound. Near the back sat a young man in a military uniform. But the uniform was wrong. It was not modern. It looked like something from the Civil War era, perhaps from the 1940s. None of them looked up as Chen Ming passed. He took a seat in the very last row, as far from the other passengers as possible. The bus lurched forward into the night. Chen Ming watched the streets pass by the dirty window. At first, the route seemed normal. Buildings, street lights, the occasional late-night pedestrian. But gradually, things began to change. The street lights became less frequent. The buildings grew older, more decrepit. Some of them were ruins, burned-out shells that Chen Ming did not recognize. And the passengers were changing too. Chen Ming glanced at the old man in the front row. His traditional robes seemed tattered now, rotting, and his hands were bones. Skeletal fingers folded in eternal patience. Chen Ming's heart began to pound. He looked at the woman in white. She was still cradling the bundle in her arms, but now he could see it more clearly. The cloth had slipped. The baby was not moving. Its skin was grey. Its eyes were open but empty. It had been dead for a very long time. Chen Ming felt vomit rising in his throat. His eyes moved to the soldier. The young man had finally lifted his head. His face was handsome, but pale as paper, and in the center of his chest was a dark stain. A hole. Chen Ming could see through it to the seat behind. They were all dead. Every passenger on this bus had died long ago. Chen Ming's rational mind screamed that this was impossible. A hallucination, a dream, too much beer, but he knew, with a certainty that went beyond logic, that this was real. He looked at the destination sign above the driver. Earlier, it had been black. Now, characters were appearing, one by one. Huangquan, the Yellow Springs. In Chinese mythology, the Yellow Springs is the Underworld, the realm where all souls go after death. The final destination. This bus was not going to Huángquán. This bus was going to hell. Chen Ming leaped from his seat. Driver, stop the bus. I want to get off. The driver did not respond. Chen Ming ran to the front. He reached for the driver's shoulder to shake him. His hand passed through empty air. The driver was not solid. He was not real. He was a shadow, a shape, an absence of light in the form of a man. Slowly, the driver turned. Where his face should have been, there was nothing. Smooth skin stretched over the shape of a skull. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Yet somehow it spoke. There is no getting off, the faceless driver said. You boarded of your own free will. You must complete the journey. No, Chen Ming screamed. I'm not dead. I don't belong here. Everyone who boards the midnight bus belongs here. The dead, the dying, and those who have already given up. You came to the station. You saw the bus. You chose to climb aboard. That was your choice. That was your ending. Chen Ming backed away in terror. His mind raced. He had to escape. He had to find a way off. His eyes fell on the emergency exit at the back of the bus. A small hammer hung next to the window, meant to break the glass in emergencies. Without thinking, he ran. He grabbed the hammer, swung it at the window with all his strength. The glass shattered. Cold air rushed in. Outside, there was nothing. No street, no buildings, just endless darkness and the faint sound of water. The Yellow Springs. Chen Ming did not hesitate. He jumped. Chen Ming woke in the hospital 3 days later. He had been found unconscious at the bus station at Fragrant Hills, suffering from severe hypothermia and dehydration. The doctors said it was a miracle he survived. He told his story to anyone who would listen. The midnight bus, the dead passengers, the faceless driver. No one believed him. His friends said he must have passed out from the cold and dreamed the whole thing. The police said there were no old buses in Beijing, and certainly no bus running that route after midnight. His therapist suggested trauma-induced hallucination. But Chen Ming knew the truth. He had seen the midnight bus. He had ridden with the dead, and somehow, against all odds, he had escaped. But sometimes, late at night, he still hears it, the squeal of old brakes, the groan of ancient doors, the flicker of dying lights. The midnight bus is still running its route, still picking up passengers who have nowhere else to go. And Chen Ming knows that one day it will come for him again, because no one escapes the midnight bus forever. Some journeys can only be delayed, never avoided. So remember this. The next time you are waiting for a late-night bus in China, look carefully at the vehicle that approaches. Look at the passengers inside, and if anything seems wrong, if the bus seems too old, if the windows are too dark, if the passengers do not look quite alive, do not board, wait for morning. Because the midnight bus is always running, and it is always looking for passengers.